What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Shred Show live with me, Josh Pitts. And I can say this, and I know I tell you I'm always excited, but one of my truly favorite people in the entire freaking industry, Danny Horanyi, is hanging out with me this afternoon. And I've had Danny on the show before, and if you've ever had a chance to talk with Danny or even listen to a conversation that Danny is having about our industry, he's one of those people that is absolutely just packed full of knowledge and not only just knowledge, but Danny, you have the expertise and the experience, man. And I'm so excited to be hanging out with you for a few minutes this afternoon.
Awesome, Josh. Thank you so much, man. I so appreciate it. I always love talking to you as well. Your energy's amazing, dude.
Well, what I lack in knowledge, I make up for in enthusiasm. So you're the guy with knowledge. I'm the guy with enthusiasm. We make a great team. So let's dive into it because honestly, Danny, every time I've had you on the show and every time we talk, there's so many great talking points. But we're going to talk a little bit about Caliber today, not just about Caliber. What I love about you is of course we talk about Caliber, but you bring so much knowledge to the industry and so much value for those who are watching. But I heard, and you can correct me on this, but I heard recently you kind of made a big change with Caliber, and you are now in this department called Retail Innovation. Dude, what the heck is retail innovation? When I first heard, I was like, retail innovation, like if Danny's heading it up, it's got to be something exciting. So what the heck is retail innovation, man?
Yeah, Josh, thanks so much for asking. And it's actually a pretty exciting change. And this is actually what I was originally hired at Caliber to do. So when as you know, for 16 years, I was originating. And the majority of that time, I was originating with Caliber. And when I was asked by Caliber to kind of move out of origination and into a corporate role, this was the vision that we had, was this idea of retail innovation. And it was a need that we saw in the market. And at the time, it was, end of 2018, 2019, it was a different market that we're in now. But fundamentally, the problem that we were trying to solve is figuring out how we can help originators kind of winterize their business and build a skill set that was going to be applicable into the future. So some of the things that meant, right, what we were seeing out in the marketplace was there a lot of lenders that were trying to create a storyline that said that you can helicopter in advice, right, and that local doesn't matter. And so if I was going to say fundamentally what retail innovation is about, it's about committing and doubling and tripling down on local advice. And that's really what Caliber has always been founded on, right? The originators at Caliber are in the local communities. The operations of Caliber are in the local communities. And philosophically, we believe that that's the only way to appropriately do business. And that's the only way to truly serve. And because if you think about it, there's a level of accountability that comes in a relationship when you know that you could run into your client at the supermarket, right? That's very different than somebody in Detroit on the phone, giving somebody advice that they're never going to see again, right? They have no obligation to that person, outside of that very short transactional relationship. So retail innovation is about a high touch model that's facilitated by technology to enhance the quality of advice that can be offered by a local originator. And part of that, Josh, and you're going to love this part because I know you're all about this, is a recognition inside of Caliber that because we're local, right, and because we made a commitment to the local community, that it is our local originators brand that we're supporting, right? And it's that individual person that's interfacing, right? There's companies, and I won't name them, that are paying $1 billion a year in marketing, right? And that's their model. That's how they build trust, right? Is they brand the enterprise and not the individual, right? And Caliber takes a different tact. And I'm going to approximate this, right, just for the purposes of this conversation. Our alternative is that we pay $1 billion a year in commissions, right, to our originators, right? And why do we do that? It's because that is our marketing. They're our ambassadors of the brand. And retail innovation is all about fundamentally investing in our local ambassadors so that they can promote the Caliber brand and bring our focus on community and our focus on responsible and sustainable lending inside of those communities into where they live, right? And that's the only way we can see doing business effectively in the future. We do not believe you can extract that emotional connection that a face-to-face relationship or a local community relationship can offer.
Dude, this is brilliant. Like I've got goosebumps thinking about this because a lot of times one of the issues that a lot of people give the retail side of the industry like a hard time for is they're like, well, you just sit in your office all the time. There's no local, there's no community aspect of what you're doing. But you guys, that's literally what this is. It's really focusing on that local independent, that mortgage expert in every single community and helping them build their brand. You mentioned branding, dude. You saw my face light up because that, that's what I'm all about is branding. And it's not so much focused on Caliber. It's focused on that person. It's focused on the Danny Horanyi in that community. It's focused on the Josh Pitts in that community. And this idea, this retail innovation idea, man, that gets me super excited because again, there are so many people who just aren't doing that. There's so many lenders, so many companies that they don't have that approach. So it's a breath of fresh air to actually hear that executives and people who are leading the industry like yourself are like, hey, we understand, we see there needs to be a change, and we're going to be out. You guys are the forefront. Like you're on the forefront. You're the first ones doing it.
Now, Josh, the Caliber brand has a role in this, right?
Of course.
I mean, some of the value that we offer to those communities is that we have a $150 billion servicing portfolio. We make a commitment to being in a 30-year relationship with our clients, where the lenders that exclusively sell servicing, they don't have that same attachment, right? I mentioned responsibility, accountability, right? There's a different level of accountability and responsibility when you service the loan for 30 years, right? And a different level of relationship that you have. So the Caliber brand is extraordinarily valuable. But what I believe, I'll speak for myself, is that without a quality local brand, the Caliber brand doesn't have an entry point, right? To shine, right? And because it is a strong brand and a valuable brand, but that entry point is our local operators and our local ambassadors. And I do want to stress also that this is not, retail innovation is not about rah retail is the channel. Although I do have a strong belief that we have really high quality originators inside of Caliber. I've had the privilege of traveling around the country and meeting people at other lenders, meeting people in other channels. And I can tell you there's great local operators everywhere. And there's people that get it and that care about their communities. And those are the people that we're hoping to attract by changing this mindset a little bit, because I want to work with people that believe what I believe, right? That's like the best way to develop a relationship. And there's a lot of people out there that are doing it the right way. And, whoever they are out there, I applaud and celebrate them, because it's all of us rallying together that are going to be able to defend against this idea that mortgage advice can be helicoptered in, which I firmly don't believe is possible.
I totally agree. And on this, I want to build on this a little bit more. And you kind of alluded to this, but I know, and I've heard, as much as I travel and I talk to great people like you and other people within the organization at Caliber, 2020 is a big year of growth. You guys are looking to aggressively grow in 2020. And so maybe explain a little bit more. How does this retail innovation and this brand, because you said, and I really like how you said this, the Caliber brand still helps that local expert to really grow their brand. They will work together. They will work cohesively. So kind of maybe expand on that a little bit, is with the growth that you guys are looking at in 2020, how does retail innovation really play a role in that?
Well, it's twofold. The first is there's certain markets that we don't have a large footprint in. And what we've come to the conclusion of, and I think it's kind of reinforced by this conversation, is if we don't have a footprint, our model doesn't work, right? Because we're not willing to be remote. We're not willing to helicopter in the advice. So the first thing that retail innovation is focusing on is finding and building production inside of those markets where we don't have a large footprint, where there's great opportunity, because we want to extend our reach and our support to all communities. So that's one big piece of retail innovation, is a focus on those footprints where we don't have a ton of kind of boots on the ground, let's call it, and finding those people that align with our vision, that believe what we believe, and then inviting them in and then investing in them for growth. So that's one piece of it. The second is institutionalizing the knowledge that we have as an enterprise and that the industry has to offer, right? I will not pretend like Caliber somehow has a monopoly on, expert mortgage advice, or, um, an excellent platform. There's many companies out there that do a terrific job, and that, we're proud to be in the industry with. However, as an industry, and certainly, as a company, there's a massive opportunity to institutionalize some of the best practices. There's 100 ways to do this business well, and you can look at
Absolutely.
top producers around the country. If you go, interview the top 25, everyone will tell you that they have a different business model, and
Yep.
that's because there are many business models that work, and that creates, I think, a lot of confusion for the medium level producers, the emerging top producers, to really understand what to do next, right? Because you can look at a rock star funding, $300 million a year, who has a large team, and say, I want that, right? And maybe you're at, 24 million a year right now, and that's a really respectable amount of production, right? You're bumping up on the top 1% nationally if you're there, but you see people doing these, monster numbers. And that idea, like, how do you go from 24 million to 300 million? What's the roadmap? What's the playbook? That's the other piece of retail innovation that
Hmm.
we're trying to bring, is introducing those institutionalized, or we're trying to institutionalize those best practices, so those producers can grow. And of the 10 people on that top producers team, who's the first hire, right? What's the first step to get there? Let's go from 24 to 35 million, and then take the next step to 50. And that kind of committed investment, and just help with that playbook, is the other side of what retail innovation will allow us to do to grow.
So I definitely want to come back because this is one of those things, as you talk about helping everybody in the Caliber organization grow, and growth is a huge part of 2020. I want to come back to this, but before we touch on this, I want to talk about something, because what really baffles me, Danny, and again, as you and I have had these conversations, you've done so many different things within our industry, and something you were doing with Caliber in particular is you were working on their non-agency line, their product line. And you spent a lot of time doing that, and now you make this switch over to retail innovation. Is this non-agency? Are you still going to be in that at all, or is that just done now? I mean, how are you going to balance it? Dude, you balance so many places it is. So, I mean, is that something you're still focused on?
Well, Josh, portfolio lending and retail innovation are hand in glove. They
Hmm.
they absolutely are strongly related to each other.
Okay.
Um, because if you think about it, right, I introduced, right, what is retail innovation about? It's about, building a business that is sustainable into the future.
Sure.
And the reality is that we, as originators, need all the weapons that we can possibly use to help families buy houses, and to help them get into debt, help them get out of debt, right? Help them become home owners, right? Not just borrowers. All of these things are mission critical to the philosophy that we're trying to bring to the table. And being able to provide resources and product tools that allow us to say yes a few more times, right? Help just a couple more families get into homes. Absolutely mission critical. So our portfolio lending suite of products is absolutely part of the retail innovation mission, and I still am definitely intimately involved in that process. For our originators here, and I believe, and this is a very bold statement, Josh, but I believe if an originator doesn't execute a non-agency loan, a non-QM loan, and learn that process in 2020, it's going to be very difficult for them to still be in business in 2024. It's almost a mission critical aspect of building a moat around your business, because that remote advice, that's real, right? We know that helicopter advice, it's real. We can't put our head in the sand and say that there isn't a place for it. Also, there's some part of the market that is going to engage in that way, that we're not going to be able to get every single person to believe that local message is the only way to do business.
Right.
And we're going to, and maybe we can get them back after they have a bad experience, or not. But the point is that the types of products that are truly, in the weeds, and you've got to get your hands dirty, like renovation, like a lot of government type lending, and like non-QM, non-agency, it's very difficult to automate that advice, because it takes a skill level that only an expert black belt originator can deliver. And if we don't up our belt level, becoming black belts, I believe right now the market's great, right? And there's a lot of opportunity, and there's a lot of people that are um, unfortunately atrophying from a skill set perspective. And that's another thing that I think just to tie together this concept of the non-agency lending and how it relates to retail innovation. It's an up leveling, right? That it's the coaching, it's all of these things that are going to really create those black belt originators that are going to be thriving in 2024, regardless of what the market looks like.
Dude, I love that. And leveling up, being there's so many aspects of that, Danny. Guys, if you seriously, if you're watching this or if you're coming back and watching, you got to go back and watch those last couple of minutes because there were so many little bits and pieces in there, Danny. And again, dude, that's why I seriously love having you on the show because you seriously slip these little nuggets in there every single time that I'm like, oh my gosh, like Danny's brilliant, guys. Like this is one of those episodes that you should totally watch again and again because you're gonna get new little bits and pieces every single time. And with that being said, if you're just joining us right now, make sure you comment #shred. We have a lot of people jumping on, so comment #shred. That means you're shredding with me and Danny right now as we're talking about some great things. But I want to come back to this, Danny, because you've mentioned kind of leveling up and really being able to surround yourself with the right people. And we were talking a little bit about this before we went live, but what are you most excited about in the year 2020? Everybody had a great year in 2019, but 2020 is a new year. And you're talking about even 2024, which I think is brilliant. So many people are in the moment, but this is a long term. But what are you really pumped about when it comes to 2020 and this year?
Well, I mean, I think I've touched on a lot of the tactical things that we're doing, but one of the things, and this is related, but actually a little bit off topic, that I'm really excited about. That's kind of been we've chosen to kind of house under our retail innovation concept is this idea we have of building a caliber university, which is going to allow us to recruit new originators into the business, right? We've all heard the statistics that, the average age of an originator is 57 years old. And, and I actually believe that there's a lot of opportunity. I mean, one, the people that have been in the industry for, 30 plus years, 25 plus years, provide a ton of value and experience, right?
Absolutely.
So by no means do we want to minimize the impact that all of those producers are having and the mentorship and leadership that they've provided over the years to allow this industry to grow and thrive. That said, we do need a new crop, right? We need new blood. And the entry point in the mortgage industry has become really, really challenging because it's very difficult. It's very expensive to have a low producer ramp up, right? So most of the companies in the industry have found it really hard to take chances on unproven producers. Yep. And what ends up happening is the deck just gets shuffled, right? Producer A goes to company B and then producer C goes to company A, right? Like, and that is not something that's going to allow us to thrive and sustain a message that is really counter to this idea of, remote advice. Because a lot of these companies that are shuffling the deck, they're similarly committed to local production, right? And local operations. So this Caliber University idea, I'm really, really excited about because we're hoping to really instill the right mindset, the right values, and the right skill set into a new brand, or a new crop of future originators that will then be mentored, inside of our, traditional branches by some of our top producers. And I just really, really feel strongly that it's a winning combination to really build a robust sales force for the future.
There's so much I want to dissect in this right now, Danny, because this whole Caliber University idea, you've had lots of companies in the past who have tried to bring in new blood to the business because we all know that, like you mentioned, the average age of I don't know if anybody actually knows the actual statistic on the average age because you hear 51, you hear 57, like, Grant, and I love what you said, highlighting all those who have incredible expertise, who have been in the industry a long time. Those people are needed because honestly, they're there to help the new generation of LO come in. Because there's a huge learning curve when it comes to being a loan officer. And I've talked to coaches, I've talked to other organizations about this idea, and it is a huge undertaking because that learning curve is so large. So this undertaking I'm excited about it too because I think there's so much opportunity to bring in these new hungry, ambitious people to the industry. But I want to ask it, so is it more focused on, like, are you going to be targeting people brand new out of college? Are you going to be targeting people, that are mid 30s? Is there a demographic that you're kind of, I don't want to segregate anybody here, but I'm sure you guys have put some thought into, like, who are we trying to target in this, especially when it comes to building Caliber University?
So we're just getting this off the ground. We actually haven't, just full disclosure, we haven't even had our first class yet, Josh. So we're
Yes.
still, but we have it
Brand
on the
new.
book and we're really excited about it. We're starting off with college graduates, and that's our, really our target initially. But what we're really hoping to do over the coming years is develop a curriculum that really checks the boxes so that, somebody transitioning from one industry to mortgage, or somebody that, maybe it's a military veteran that's, transitioning out of the military. And there's so many different applications. One of the things I firmly believe, Josh, is that the mortgage industry is it's one of the most unique opportunities. It's one of the
100%.
very, very few businesses where you can truly impact a family's life and make money.
Yep.
And the amount of opportunity there is there, and the amount of appreciation and pride I have in that, the fact that, that's the responsibility we have to our communities, right? We're very well rewarded as an industry for truly helping people. Most industries that truly help people, I think of teachers, right, comes to mind right away, right? That's a
Absolutely.
huge service, right? Shaping the minds of youth and all that. Relatively speaking, not really the same type of compensation. And there's a lot of industries like that where, moving into mortgage and having the opportunity to provide that service at a high level and truly give families quality advice that will impact them forever. We want to be able to bring new people into that and have a curriculum that really answers that.
Dude, what you said just a second ago was so powerful because I think sometimes we lose sight of that as originators, as mortgage professionals, loan officers, whatever you want to call yourself. We truly have the opportunity and honestly the responsibility of helping people with the American dream of homeownership. And I really think sometimes we lose sight of that because whether you're at your home or your office right now, having a roof over your head, having that warm place to call home is something that is just unexplainable. The opportunity of homeownership that we have, it doesn't affect just the parents, it affects the kids. It affects so many things, and it's such a critical and crucial opportunity that we have. And sometimes we just look at it as a transaction, and it's just, we got to fill the pipeline, we got to go through another transaction, and we're worried about BIPs and compensation and this and that. But when it comes down to it, it's all about the consumer. And that's, as I hear you talk, Danny, that's what Caliber University is about. It's educating us as originators, as the new generation, that it's more than a transaction. That yes, you're going to have to learn, and this isn't something where you're just going to pick it up and start originating tomorrow. But with the right curriculum, like you mentioned, you can truly learn everything you need to know to be that expert, to be that advisor, not just on one transaction, but for the life of that family. Every time they buy a home, refinance. And that's what gets me excited for what you're talking about, because you're one of those guys in our industry who truly understands the consumer. And Caliber University, its curriculum is going to be based around the consumer. And dude, that's what gets me pumped up about it, man. I can see, like, the way you talk about it, the way you smile about it, it's just like, yes, this is going to be game changer in the industry.
Well, let me tie this together too, Josh. Kind of tying the whole retail innovation and, including this university initiative. One of the things that I believe is that, and I'll share, what Caliber wants as an enterprise is happy customers, right? People that enjoy working with us, that are, in our servicing portfolio, that want to do business with us again. We want to have as many happy customers as we possibly can. And my belief is that the only way to get happy customers is to have happy and productive employees, right? And so that's where the focus is attracting and nurturing, investing in, and making the environment here as good as it can possibly be so that our team members thrive, everybody's growing, and we just can't help but delight our customers and then have them come in droves to do business with us. So that might sound like a super, utopian universe. But I feel like if we orient our thinking and our mindset in that way, it's very difficult to lose.
And I think that is just it. Like there's so many things that you have mentioned, Danny, that I mean, from Caliber's aspect are so exciting. It's kind of this breath of fresh air from Caliber University to retail innovation. There's so many things that you're doing to innovate the industry, to really be different, to set yourselves apart. And it's exciting to me. It's one of those conversations, again, it's not just what Caliber is working on, it's everything that you're doing behind the scenes and everything that you're working on to better our industry for the originator. Like you said, happy consumers come from happy originators. Like that's when it comes down to the end of the day. And that's what Caliber is focused on. And it's, man, it just gets me excited. It gets me pumped up.
No, me too, Josh. And I mean, the last thought on this,
Yeah.
is that this isn't all about Caliber, right? This is
No.
about local producers out there in the world trying to help these families, right? This message applies to them too. It's not just about us and what we're doing. It's about finding, my sincere hope is that everybody out there tries to do stuff like this. Everybody out there starts to reorient their thinking about originator first, right? In helping the local community by helping the local producer. And, if that happens and spreads, to other aspects of the industry, I will be a very, very happy person. So this is not just about Caliber. We really want to set a bar. And like I said, there's many, many other great companies out there that are making similar efforts to be, there for their local communities. And we're proud to be alongside them. But we definitely want to lead the way. And as you know, I'm a super competitive person, and I definitely want to win that effort as well.
Danny, but that's every time that you and I talk and every time that I have conversations with Caliber, that's what always impresses me. You said it just as you were starting that. It's not all about Caliber. It's about the industry. It's about, if you guys are the ones who are setting the bar to help others achieve this, that's what you want to see. You want to see that bar raised so everybody can benefit from it. That's what impresses me about you, man, is having that mentality that you do and so focused on everybody, bringing the industry together, collaborating so as a whole we can be better. Man, it's such a breath of fresh air, and it truly just makes me smile. Like, I can't stop smiling. Everybody knows that I typically have a very serious face, but every time I talk to you, Danny, it's like I just can't help but smile because there's so many things that you and your team and Caliber are working on to better everybody. So, man, I really appreciate you hanging out with us. I mean, we've been going for 30 minutes now, and me and you,
Wow.
we could just keep having conversation after conversation. Actually, if you don't mind, I want to just, this is something we didn't talk about, but I want to touch on this real quick because you have so much knowledge. You've been in this industry for so long. When it comes to individual originators, if they're out there, they're watching this show. So many people, well, by the way, if you're watching this today, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for watching Danny and myself. But Danny, if you could tell them today to go out and do something that's going to truly impact and affect their business and start getting them on the right path for 2020, what would you tell them to go out and do today?
So I would say the first thing that pops to my head, Josh, is treat your business as a business.
Love it.
And that sounds super like broad, and you're probably thinking, well, what the heck does that mean? It means focus on your numbers, know your numbers, understand what the cause and effect is that leads you to success, right? If you want to make $500,000 this year, how many leads do you need to get to those fundings? How are you going to get them? What is your P&L going to look like? Because even if you're in a model where you're not currently paid on profitability, I guarantee you we're going to get to a point where that number is very important to somebody in your organization. And you should definitely be on the right side of that line, and you should know your numbers, because it's the people, the entrepreneurs that are building a business that are going to be the survivors into the next decade of mortgage. And that is not something that you can learn to do overnight if you're not already doing it. So, but put in the work, it will definitely pay dividends for you.
Oh man, treat your business. That's probably one of the best. And it may sound cliche, but you're 100% right. Know your numbers. You and I have had conversations in the past about numbers. You are a numbers guy, like to the nth degree. But sometimes we overlook that. We don't even know like the numbers on how many leads do we need to close X amount of deals every month. Sometimes we just don't even know. So treat your business like a business. Guys, you heard it here, right here on the Shred Show from Danny Horanyi. Man, thank you so much for joining us. Again, the value and the leadership you bring to our industry is just truly one of the absolute best. So I cannot thank you for taking a few minutes and hanging out with us today.
Awesome, Josh. It's always a pleasure, man. Can't wait till next time.
I say it's coming again, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, huge shout out to Danny hanging out with us from Caliber Home Loans. And as always, we appreciate you. We love you. Now it's time to go show up, hustle, repeat every day. See you guys.